I didn't flinch when he said it. His voice cut through the space between us, sharp, careless, like my pain was nothing more than a loose hinge he couldn't be bothered to fix. His mother stood behind him, smug as ever, fingers curled around the same wooden spoon she used on me whenever he wasn't home. They called it discipline. Abuse was the truer word, but accuracy never mattered in that house. Only loyalty did. And I owed them none of it anymore, so when he told me I had nowhere to go, I smiled. A small, quiet smile, the kind that made him pause for just a second. Then I'll return to my parents' house, I said. His frown was immediate. You don't have. But I was already turning away that he didn't know. He'd never bothered to know. He married the version of me he could control, not the one I kept locked away years ago. Back then I was fragile, still living in the soft years when grief clung to me like fog. My parents had supposedly died in an accident the world deemed unremarkable, leaving me with a silence so heavy it felt crushing. He stepped into that silence with warmth and promises, with hands steady enough to hold mine when they trembled. He called me strong. He called me brilliant. He called me his miracle that I didn't realize then that sometimes love is just a disguise. His mother hated me from the start. I was never obedient enough, never grateful enough, never broken in the way she preferred. But he asked me to endure her. She'll change, he said. I waited. She didn't. The unraveling didn't explode, it slithered. First the late nights. Then the locked phone. The softened tone whenever he said her name, Lena. One afternoon while doing laundry, I found a smear of crimson lipstick across his collar. I don't wear lipstick. His mother doesn't either. I held up the shirt. He shrugged. My coworker hugged me too long. Relax. Relax. Another leash he expected me to tug gently. But I didn't. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I simply watched. And what I saw, missed calls at 2 a.m., deleted messages, sudden business trips, was enough to shatter the last illusion I had left. I didn't cry. I recalibrated. He forgot that I studied numbers, patterns, behavior for a living. He forgot that silence is my first language. So I collected everything: photos, bank statements, insurance forms, and recordings of his mother's threats captured by the baby monitor they thought I didn't know about. And then I reached out to the people he believed never existed, my parents. Because they weren't dead, they had disappeared years ago to protect themselves and me from a corrupt relative trying to steal our inheritance. They wanted to take me with them, but I stayed for school. They made me promise not to tell anyone the truth until I was ready. That day had finally arrived. I left the house quietly. No theatrics. No pleading. Just execution. My parents welcomed me home with a warmth I had almost forgotten how to receive. Together we reopened old accounts, shifted funds, and constructed legal firewalls. My family's wealth was deeper, older, stronger than my husband ever suspected. Land, trusts, securities, generational money that did not blink, and with the right signatures, we froze everything he and I owned together. Every joint card, every investment, every account he used to impress his mistress. He woke up financially blind. 3 weeks later, I returned, not as a wife, but as a storm armed with paperwork. He looked smaller, disheveled, angry. Where have you been? He shouted. Home, I said. With my parents. You don't have? I slid a folder across the table. Evidence of the affair, documentation of his mother's abuse, proof of financial misconduct, and the divorce papers. He flipped through the pages, draining color with each one. You planned this, he whispered. I survived this, I said. His mother burst in, ready to spit her venom, but I handed her a restraining order with her name printed across the top. She stepped back. For the first time, she was silent. They both were. I walked out without looking back. Lighter, unburdened, freak. He once told me I had nowhere to go. He was wrong. I had roots. I had a bloodline stronger than his ego could ever comprehend. I had parents who never stopped loving me, even from the shadows, and now I had myself. As the door clicked shut behind me, I felt it. The final snap of the last chain he had ever placed on me. Justice wasn't loud. It was precise, patient, and God, it was satisfying.